Welcome, friends. Welcome to today's Reconsider It live stream. Best live stream you're going to see all day. Here on this live stream, you are going to get a very exciting hour or more of hanging out in the studio, not doing anything in particular, playing with some sounds, bringing in the synthesizer. Let's power that on. It's going to be a good time. I see that our regular Dane is already with us. Dane says, "What an awesome surprise." Yeah, that's how these tinkering in the studio streams happen. There's any time of day, any day of the week. Sometimes it catches you just at the right moment, which is what this is. And if you are new to the Reconsider It live streams, welcome. You made a really good decision joining us. Right now we are hanging out. We are hanging out in a warm-up phase right now to this foundation of a beat, this beginnings of a beat that I made before the stream began. Jane says, "I love that effect." Which one? You think about this one here? Is that the effect you're talking about? Or something else? In this very nice foundational warm-up beat as we get the blood flowing. And as we are getting our blood flowing here with this warm-up beat, there is one thing I need to do. I can't control what you're going to do, but I'm going to do this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my drink over here, wherever I put it. Here it is. I got my drink. I got some water right here. I'm going to celebrate you. Thank you for being here. Whether you are here in the live and joining us in the chat, as Dane is, you're here in the live, but you're not in the chat. Or if you're joining us after the live, you're watching the stream on replay. I'm celebrating you right now. I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to clink the screen. I'm going to say cheers, and you are invited to join the rest of us as we cheers along and celebrate our togetherfulness. 1. Oh, man, it's coming really fast this time. 2. Oh, yes, it's right here now. 3. Clink. Cheers, my friend. Whew. That's good. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please share this video with a friend who would like it. Right now I see Dana saying that you see what's on the shirt here. Yeah, it says Cypress Hill. This is an old t-shirt. I found this in my closet and I was like, oh, I'm wearing that. This shirt is from like probably 30 years ago. Yeah, that would be 1995. That's when this shirt was from. Yep, I still got it. Cypress Hill was the first rap act that made me like perk up my head and be like, what? So they're my first, like, I would say favorite rap act. And I still have this shirt to commemorate that. I used to have another one too. It was also a postage stamp, but it was red instead of green. I forget what I did with that shirt. Probably just threw it out one day. I see also we got Destruct in the house, which is really good. Also, David is with us. Welcome, friends. Now that we have this foundation of a beat and we are feeling very warmed up at this time, I think I'm going to add a little bit into this beat, I guess. Add another layer in here. I'm going to go off of speaking on the mic and use the mic for looper stuff. By the way, for my musician friends who will be jamming along as we are building up and tearing down beats and changing sounds and playing with the synth and also chatting a bunch, for my musician friends who's going to be jamming along, this is tuned to the key of E. Beats per minute is 148.7. Caught up on the... Whoa, too much reverb. I'm getting caught up on the chat right now. I'm getting caught up. Dane was making some more comments about Cypress Hill, including Temples of Boom. Yes. Is that what this one is? I think that... Yeah. That's what this shirt is. This is a Temples of Boom shirt. Yeah, I first discovered them. I think it was... it might have been Insane in the Brain, you know, their big hit. That was the biggest Cypress Hill hit ever. But maybe not. I'm not sure. Because I had heard their Red album as well. And I don't remember the sequence of events. If I discovered the Red album and then Insane in the Brain came out, or if it was the other way around. In any case, I discovered Black Sunday and the Red album at pretty much the same time-ish. So Temples of Boom was also cool when that came out. David says, I'm loving the looper, loving the sounds. AKA Asef. Oh, you're Asef. Oh, hey, welcome. Yeah, Asef, I've been hearing your story recently in the past, what is it, like week or so? And I've been sitting here like, you know, rooting you on, like, yes, I love the positive attitude. It's like there's so much can do in your spirit. That's how I'm watching when you're sharing, such as on the Soar show. Were you also on Ken's pub? I forget. Getting caught up on the chat. I see David is saying, "Oh, I like how patient you are with the process." Really? This looks patient. Okay, that's one of my like long-term artist things that I'm, learning how to be better at is developing patience and letting things sit for a while. So that's good. If it comes off as patient, that's such a big compliment. I was also considering turning this beat off and starting a new beat, since I see we're about a half hour into the stream, which also is very, very patient of me. I didn't fully fill up everything, but I felt like I mostly explored what that beat had to offer, including bringing in the synth here and all that. That again was the key of E. Beats per minute is 148.7. So I'm going to turn to some other random palette here. See what we might improvise with next. I went to this A flat. Not totally randomly. I just kind of like spun up a little bit. I wanted to stay in the bottom 12 of my newest palettes that I've created. A flat, or do I want to do F sharp? I was thinking like not flogging. What's the word I'm looking for? Flanking the G, either an F sharp or an A flat. I turned to the A flat. I guess let's do that. So as always, my friends, during these tinkering in the studio streams, the next step is, now that I turn to some other palette, I'm just going to quickly build up some foundation of a beat, drum beat, bass line, something else a little bit more in there. And then I'll come back and decide what I'm going to do next, whether that's keep building up the beat, talk with you a little bit about something, bring in the synthesizer, who knows. But let me build up a foundation of this beat first, and let's find out what this is going to be all about here. We got the A flat once again for my musician friends who want to jam along. Let's do it. Well, that was a fun little exploration there. I do feel like I got a good foundation of a beat here. I should add some more. Maybe this one I should fully flesh out, unlike the prior one where we started the stream, where that was only partially filled out. Maybe I should fully fill this one out. I feel like I got something nice in the synth too. The voice matches decently. There's still some changes I like to make, so I might play with the voice a little more in the synth. I am once again getting caught up on the chat over here. Jane says, Mani Padme Hum. That's some manner of Indian percussion thing, isn't it? Like that's a way of counting. Is that correct? I love like Indian hand drumming and the way they have all sorts of complicated math in it. I'm like, yay! I wish that I had, when I was very, very young, I wish that I had been exposed to that as a percussion style, because I would have picked that up so fast. Nowadays, you know, who has time for anything? I have time to jump on a live stream and hang out with you and keep playing around with things I have developed and add things and learn things, but man, my life is pretty full at the moment. How much space do I have to take on a new percussion discipline when that's not even my primary? Well, you know, I don't know if that's true. I think percussion is my primary musical modality. Or is modality even the right word there? Or my primary musical mode of expression, I think, is percussion and sequencing. Turning volume on and off. Like this arrangement in the loopers, I consider that to be like a compositional style. Okay, now I bring that in, and then after that's in a little bit, now I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to bring this in next, but only after I do this other thing one more time, then I do it. Like, that's also my music style, is this on and off mixing that the loopers enable me to do very well. David says, yeah, dynamics and percussion, I definitely see that. That's good. Once again, I'm glad to see that some of what I'm bringing is visible to you. Still just getting caught up on the chat. There's so many cool things happening that David and Dane are sharing right now about drumming, even following up on that Mani Padme Hum thing, the mantra. Loving the rhythm, says David. David says, I used to do drum circles. Oh, you know, I don't have it in the room here, but I have a wooden drum that I built when I was in college, like university level. And it's like a 6-sided. I think the formal name of it is a tocajon. So not just a cajon, but a tocajon. I built that, and I used to bring that to drum circles. It works really well by itself. In a drum circle, it gets drowned out. Which is a nice metaphor for me as a character. I tend to function best when I have the resources I need to do a solo thing. And when I'm forced into a situation that I need to like find my way through a collaboration space, it can be done, but I often, take the back seat in those cases. I function better when I just have my hands on the driver's wheel, so to speak. Or at least that's easier. That comes more naturally. How about that? Comes more natural. Requires less effort. Requires a lot of effort for me. A lot of effort to mesh with others and cooperate in a way that they will find acceptable and want to continue cooperating. I'm like, all right, how about I just dance to my own beat, so to speak? That works nice if I'm on stage as a performer, dancing to my own beat, literally. But when you're trying to cooperate as a team to do something and I'm trying to dance to my own beat, it doesn't work as well. I once heard Russell Brand make a statement that resonated with me in this regard. I don't have any idea what he was talking about, but at some point he made a quote to the effect of the following. He said something like, yeah, I have a personality that doesn't really work without fame. And I was like, yeah, something like that is true for me. Maybe not necessarily fame, but I have a personality where it's difficult for me to do something other than just like be in full control of every little detail. I know that, what is that? They call that a type A. I don't know if that's, those kinds of assessments I never found to be thoroughly accurate. They have some superficial accuracy in some cases, some one-dimensional accuracy in some cases, but not deep, thorough, soul-level accuracy. They don't have that. I'm getting caught up on the chat right now. I see our friend True has joined us. Once again, I'm getting caught up on the chat. There's so much for me to get caught up on. Once again, that's one of the things. Thank you again for being here. That's one of the things that I like so much about these tinkering in the studio streams, as opposed to the loops and chill. Loops and chill is more like I'm at a bar or a venue of some kind, and I'm putting on a show. Here I am putting on a show. That's what loops and chill is like. But hanging out, tinkering in a studio is much more just like, hey man, like no structure at all. Let's just chat a lot. So I like all this going back and forth. But I see David says that he feels that on so many levels, what I was saying about trying to work with others. Yeah, it's like I can either lead, and if I'm in the position of leading, then like I am going to lead. Like, let me do this my way. And you, if you're going to be who I'm leading, then let me lead you. You know, like, I'm going to really do it to the max. I could either lead, or if I'm not leading and someone else is going to lead, like, that's okay. I'm not saying I have to always be leading, but I'm saying when someone else is leading, I usually don't fit into what they're leading. Sometimes I do. That's called a friend. When I let someone else take the driver's wheel. Is that the right driver's? Steering wheel? Steering wheel is what I'm trying to say. I let someone else take the steering wheel, so to speak. And I like it. I'm like, this is really comfortable the way that they're taking the steering wheel, metaphorically speaking. That's a friend. But usually it's more of just like, I'm just going to quietly allow them to do what they wish without necessarily feeling like I'm part of it. Right now I see that crazy has joined us, which is nice. I think I want to add some more to this beat, because this is all sounding really like these layers here, the bass and these other flanking layers, this is all sounding really nice and resonant. I dig it. Even when I take off the reverb, it still sounds really, you know, it's with it. Maybe this right one needs to come up a little bit. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, dope. Yeah, so I like this, but it's still very small. I want to have more in here so I can keep turning it on and off and play with the synth some more and all that. There's still so much I'm getting caught up on the chat. Sounds like Altru has some unfortunate memories that are not sounding to be very pleasant, which is relatable, and at the same time, I empathetically wish there were some way to alleviate the associated pains. That's just like this sympathetic outreaching of like, oh, I wish. Which sometimes is helpful. Has some potential, maybe. You know, some degree of empathy. I see Dane and Altru are talking about the quality of my voice. That I have some kind of narrator voice, a broadcast voice. You know, people told me that my whole life, all the way back to grade school. People told me that. They're like, "Oh, you should be a broadcast. You should be on the radio." You know, back in the '90s, which is when I was in grade school. I was in high school in the '90s. And people would tell me that. They're like, "Oh yeah, you should have some kind of career in the radio." That never happened. I have done some voiceover work, but I never did it in like a freelance manner that I just, I'm retired and I stay at home and I do voiceover work. That would be cool, but unfortunately, just like, the next thing I say, all of my musician friends are going to know what I'm talking about. Musicians who are roughly my age, which is, I'm going to be 45 in a few months. Musicians who are roughly my age, and you grew up, your teenage years were the 90s, or you were a little younger than that, or a little older than that, but like roughly the 90s ish. That was the end of music being this like exclusive, powerful experience. Some people still feel that way, like me, and probably you too. If you grew up with music being this awesome, like, it's the most high level of everything. You feel that God is speaking to you through music. That kind of thing. That mostly ended in the 90s. For most people on like a wide cultural level. At least in the United States. That's what I'm really referring to here. I know that we have friends on our stream right this moment who are not in the United States. But you might have had a similar experience anyway. After the 90s is when the internet started happening. And there was Napster. And there's, streaming videos, streaming music. And after the early 2000s, music became less and less of a commodity. It became more and more of a commodity. And less of a, like, magical, glorious, captivating thing. And yet, because I spent my teenage years in the 90s, when this, after which this stuff just dropped off, that means I spent my formative years aspiring to music and all of this and thinking, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. So even when people told me things like, I have a broadcast voice, I should work in radio or what have you, I took it the route of, I want to be a lyricist and do music. And that's where I went with that. And then, after I dedicated my heart and soul to becoming an artist and developing, my ability to write lyrics, I write rap lyrics if you didn't know that, and doing percussion, doing beatboxing, doing other kinds of music. That's when I discover, I wake up one day and I pick up my head and I look around and I realize, like, nobody cares about music anymore. And also, the other part of this, and this is why I called out earlier, if you relate with this, if you also were growing up in your teens or whatever your age may have been through the 90s, and you also dedicated yourself to becoming a musician and an artist, one of the things you also may have realized is that while at the same time, synchronously with people not really caring about music anymore, at the same time, the quantity of just our peers, other musicians, is just virtually infinite. It's virtually limitless for all practical purposes. It's virtually limitless how many artists there are. And they're all equally accessible on the internet. So while it's true that drives innovation, this is a fact. You have to come up with new ways to engage your audience and such. That's true, and the whole human species evolves as a result. Yes, all true. At the same time, it's a little defeating. But the reason I bring this back to I brought this up as a side note to why did I never do voiceover work in a more substantial capacity? Just like the same reason I don't really seriously pursue music in any serious capacity. Not by myself anyway. I would pursue music if I had a really good group. If I had the right just the right bandmates who I work perfectly well with. We have the same vision. We work well together. You know, I've had those things before, so I know they can happen. But as a solo act, I'm not aggressively releasing albums like I used to. Same reason I don't go and pursue being a voice actor. So many people want to be a voice actor. Anyone who's ever dabbled in that space, you know. And there's people doing it on Fiverr, and they're doing like not the greatest. They just, you know, this is their first time they ever did anything. The mic quality is poor. They don't really know how to act with their voice. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I'm saying that you can get something cheap for $5, and then everyone else who wants to do more serious work So as I was saying, I'm interested in adding some more to this looper. And then I want to play more with the sounds on the synth. So I'm going to add another layer into the looper right now. I don't even know. Let's find out here. Let's see. I'm getting caught up on the chat right now. Once again, it sounds like we had some horrible experiences that were not fun at all. And what's the most bummer about having horrible experiences? This is my personal opinion. So you might disagree with what I'm about to say. And there is space in the universe for you to disagree with what I'm about to say. But in my opinion, one of the worst things about having horrible experiences of whatever type, whatever kind of horrible experiences, or even not necessarily horrible, but just like intense experiences. In my opinion, one of the worst things about that is the isolating nature of it. Is how there isn't, in polite society, there isn't really any space carved out for, acknowledging or validating or even processing intense experiences. And that's a bummer. I don't know if that's inevitable. I don't know if that's just like the shape of reality, that along with having to deal with intensity, one of the things you must deal with is the isolation of it. I don't know if that's inherent to nature and there's no way around it, or if it is actually possible to have some kind of like sympathy network, or not even sympathy network, but like just an acknowledgement of how to receive and process that. If it's possible to build that into polite society. I'm not sure. If so, if there is a way for it, you'd imagine that if you fast forward 2,000 years, 3,000 years, you would expect that people would have achieved that, if it is achievable. Otherwise, you would expect it. If it's not achievable, then, no matter how advanced a society gets, there'll always be some things that are inherent challenges in the human experience. And there's no way around them. I just don't know if this is one of those things. It might be or it might not be. Polite society. Polite society has always been something that was very confusing for me. I never really had a way to understand why people are polite and why there's like social mannerisms and things. You say, hi, how are you? Those things never made sense to me. I've had to do a lot of intellectualizing and figuring things out to understand why people do that. And I don't know that I do understand it. But I can have little glimpses of reasons. Like how when you don't know somebody, you don't know them. You can't predict their behavior. You don't know anything about what their inner thought processes are. And so in a world of 8 billion people who you don't know, it makes sense, or it might make sense if we could get it right, to have some kind of social mannerisms, some kind of graceful behavior as a way to signal, hey, you don't know me at all, but I hereby signal that I mean you no harm. I would like to even cooperate if we could somehow do that. And as I understand it, that's where handshakes originally came from. I think, ? Is that it was a way to show that you're not about to use your good hand to grab your sword and slay them. You'd be like, here, I'm putting forth my hand that I would be using to slay you, but look how we're going to shake hands now. So it's this agreed upon way of signaling that you have benevolent intent. And that, having benevolent intent, having trustable benevolent intent is the foundation upon which society can be built. And unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people lose sight of that. It seems like a lot of people think that this this fundamental level of feeling like you can trust each other. A lot of people seem to feel like that's just a baseline assumption of reality and doesn't need to be earned and established, which is not true. Like, that's why conflict exists at all ever. Is because we don't have this baseline of trust all the time as an inherent part of nature, an immutable part of nature. No, it has to be built and maintained. So it would be good if we could have some way of signaling positive intent that was somehow universally understood and wasn't subject to interpretation, personal experiences, cultural differences. If we could somehow, as a species, evolve to the point that we do have a fundamental trust. Am I fantasizing? Is that realistic? Is that possible? Or is that not possible? I can't tell. I'm not sure. Is it possible to achieve a universal, mutual understanding of benevolent intent? Is that possible to arrive at as a species? Or is that wishful thinking? Is that the highest you could achieve that is maybe a neighborhood? A neighborhood, you can have genuine positive intent toward people that you see enough that you can recognize them and know them enough. Or maybe a workplace. Maybe a workplace is also possible to have this kind of just fundamental assumed safety and trust. A workplace, a neighborhood where people know each other. Maybe something like that. Maybe that's the biggest that you could have, this just assumed trust. And then beyond that, it's just not feasible to have, open borders, so to speak. I'm not going to put up boundaries because I know I can trust you. There's not a very big radius where you can operate like that. I see some more follow-ups coming in the chat. Dane has some Mason-related commentary. I know very, very little about Masonry. What I have seen seems intriguing, but I know very, very little. Very, 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 virtually nothing. Virtually nothing. Altru says that in India they wear a bindi. Is that what it is? Some kind of thing here to indicate the third eye is open. Some kind of jewel. I've seen people wearing that. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, though. I do think there are possibilities in culture. I'm interested in something that's not dependent on culture. But again, I don't know if maybe that's mistaken. Maybe it really is a very limited radius where such a thing is plausible, but it's not infinite. It's not a limitless, just omnipresent, all-pervasive, safe to assume. I don't know. Altru says, yeah, that I did understand right with the jewel, but what's unfortunate is that there will be charlatans who fool people. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say, like, I'm interested in something that's beyond, like, it's somehow baked into human nature, beyond like an individual's intentions, beyond what they learn in their life, beyond how they're acculturated. It's just part of being a human. That's what I'm curious to see if it's possible to achieve such a trustworthiness. Currently, all signs point to no, but can it be evolved into? Hope so. Zane made a comment about something that America is doing differently. Is that right? I'm not sure if I'm reading correctly. America is doing something differently, and am I reading correctly, Dane? You say there's something you don't like about that? Things are changing, and everywhere on the whole planet. It's really wild. You know, this is the whole prophecy that everybody was like, oh, the world's going to end in the year 2000. Oh, I mean 2012. But there's always just this sense of like something vaguely around now was prophesized to be some kind of significant change, even if it's not literally a physical end of the world, some kind of very significant change to things. And that seems to be facilitated or accelerated by the internet, because there's a very different psychology that comes out of a person when you connect publicly with 8 billion people. You know, that's why we have more anxiety nowadays, by the way. Nobody seems to have put that together. Nobody seems to have put the pieces together yet. That operating on the internet means you are subject to more eyes, and you see more perspectives. And there's just, it exceeds what humanity has been tuned to process for thousands of years. Humanity has been tuned to process only like a couple hundred people at most. And then anything beyond that, you just don't care about. You just sort of like put up a boundary and forget about. But you can't do that on the internet. If you're an active participant on the internet, whatever your platform is, if it's YouTube, if it's, you know, Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, or not even social media, but some kind of, I don't know, blog or whatever, you're subject, like everything you say is subject to literally millions of people looking at it. And even if they don't comment in any way, and even if they don't judge you in any way, they still see it. There's something different that happens to your psychology when you understand that. It's very different to speak with a person one-on-one as it is to speak with like a room full of people. If you're leading a conversation, if you're leading a class, if you're leading a presentation in a room of 30 people, it's a very different psychology than if you're speaking to one person one-on-one. The people in the audience have a different psychology. They're more passive. They're more ready to receive. That's what the environment sets them up for. There's also a different psychology when you're speaking to the entire internet. And that's unprecedented in human history. There's never been a time when literally every single person on Earth has the capacity, if they have the access to the technology, everyone has the capacity to speak to the whole planet. Not everything gets heard. Like this live stream that I'm leading right now, this isn't going to get heard by the whole planet, but I have the capacity, the potential to speak to literally every human on Earth. Nothing like that has ever existed before. This is the leap. This is the new age. People have different abilities and such, but more importantly than people's abilities, more importantly than technology, is that we think differently. We think differently. We have this new level of anxiety from speaking to 8 billion people at once every time we go online. Knowing that all future generations for the remainder of all of humanity have a permanent record of everything we've done. We have a different awareness. There's also other layers in which our awareness is different, and it's not done yet. In the same way that before calculators were invented, people knew more about how to do mental math. Or if not mental math, then like, quick, use your fingers or something. But people knew how to, with a discipline or knowledge, a type of wisdom that's in them. People used to have the ability in them to do math, at least more than today. I'm not saying everybody was, Isaac Newton or, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that the average capacity to do mental math calculations is significantly lower now because the calculator was invented, like a little less than 100 years ago? When was calculators? What was that, 1950s or 60s when the first calculators were invented? So probably closer to 75 years, I guess. And we've had a couple generations, and the ability to do mental math drops. But that's just one example because it generalizes to everything. It generalizes to anything that we use technology for, like the ability to mow the lawn. If I didn't have a lawnmower, I would have no idea how to mow a lawn. I'd be like, I probably wouldn't have back in the day, hundreds of years ago. But my point that I'm making is the other aspect that's new and unprecedented in human history is this just complete burgeoning, this total self-replicating, multiplying prevalence of technology, where there's more and more and more tools to do things. We have cars nowadays. We could drive someplace. They didn't have that 1,000 years ago. I could go someplace right now in an hour that would have taken people the whole day 1,000 years ago. That's big. That changes the way I think and you think. The fact that we can scale the planet, that changes our psychology. But it also means we lose things. There's a lot of agency that we lose. So there's this giving away of agency to external technologies, like a calculator, like anything else, like computers, like your phone. Like right now, I have outsourced my ability to sing into this looper that does auto-tuning and makes it sound like a bass. I'm not developing the capacity to do that just with my vocal cords. I'm relying on this looper to do it. My organic artistry is lesser than someone else, a couple decades ago, who would have had to develop the ability to do this. And there are modern beatboxers who do that, who can just sound like this without the looper. They know to change their voice, and they can sound like this. They can do bass like that, and they don't need all the effects like I need. So humanity as a whole is moving in the direction of a dependency on external technologies and not just technologies in the form of like things made of electricity, like my looper, but technologies like, understanding from other people, social services, anything like this. It's a great thing that we have evolved in the direction of accommodating, let's say, physical disability. We have ramps. That's a good thing. So there's technologies that are just good. They're good things. But there's also ways that it fosters dependency. And the species as a whole is moving in that direction. In order to function in the way that we're functioning, we are dependent on various technologies. So this dependency here is another way that things are different from how they were before. People maybe used to farm with a tool, and that allowed them to farm a lot. But if you took the tools away, they would still have the know-how of like what it means to farm. Got to take the seed, got to put the seed roughly this time of year, got to treat the seed with this kind of attention. They just don't have maybe the tools to do it efficiently. But nowadays that's changed. And we're losing the ability we're losing like what happens. Like if you lost, I'm trying to think of a good example here. How about this? If sanitation services stopped running in your town, the garbage truck stopped coming in your town, would you have any idea what to do with your trash? If the grocery stores shut down, would you have any idea how to feed yourself? Like really, for the next, 40 years? Could you feed yourself every day if the grocery stores shut down? We lost a lot as a species. That is unprecedented. The ability to survive physically, that's what we've lost. And it generates dependency. Now that could work. There's a book called What Technology Wants, which is cool, and I don't hear people talking about it. So I would encourage you to check that book out if you like these kinds of things that I'm talking about right now. Some of it's related to what that book is. That book, What Technology Wants. I forget the author's name, which I lament. I wish I did not forget the author's name. I wish I could tell you the author's name. But in this book, What Technology Wants, he proposes the idea of what he calls the technium. The technium. And he says the technium is another species of organism, another like natural class of organism. In the same way that we have things like there's fish, and separate from that there's amphibians, and separate from that there's reptiles, and then there's mammals, and there's birds. These are different. I don't know what is it? Is it class? I don't think it's kingdom. I think you'd say animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. But we have these different categories of things. Single cell organisms. And in this book, What Technology Wants, the author proposes the technium, which he says is another kind of life. And it's not some like artificial thing that humanity has made. That's not what technology is. He says, no, everything that's like humanity creating things, humanity doing art, humanity making tools and things, it's all the emergence of the technium. That's what his framing is. And the technium is technology, but it has its own will. It has its own existence. Humanity is like a go-between almost to make the technium realized on Earth. And the author has all sorts of interesting ideas, some of which I've adopted as a core part of my thinking. But one of the things that he points out about the technium, as technology continues to emerge in humanity, one of the things he points out about the technium is that it seems to operate backward in time relative to what we experience. So if we think about, objects, here's my water bottle and such. Oh, you can't even see it, my water bottle. We tend to think in terms of like material, physical matter, which is dominated by the laws of physics, specifically the law of entropy, where through the course of time, the arrow of time is defined as like where you observe entropy. So we're accustomed to operating in this universe of physical matter in three-dimensional space, where there's this mysterious thing called time that seems to point in the direction of things breaking down and falling apart. And that's what we call entropy, is this tendency of things to break down and fall apart, which is true for all physical systems. So it's like all of that we agree on. But now we look at the technium. We look at this like technology that has emerged through humanity. That doesn't seem to be breaking down over time. The technium is doing the opposite. The technium started very, very crude, however many thousands of years ago, where we had, people making very crude tools that did very limited functions. Thousands of years ago. And if we look through, according to modern archaeology, if we look through the archaeological record, we see things gradually become more sophisticated. It's not like, it doesn't have properties like physical material objects that it breaks down over time because of entropy, but rather this sense of knowledge. Somehow there's this knowledge that seems to be emerging that gets more organized through time. And we can talk about things like, if you've heard of Graham Hancock and what's the other guy who does, I wish I remember his name. Graham Hancock and I'm forgetting his name. But they both have gone on the Joe Rogan show, for example, and talked about how there was ancient civilizations that have been lost. So we can talk about how there may have been things like that, where there's this cataclysmic destruction of a civilization. So, oh no, Recon, you can't necessarily say that the technium kind of emerged out of nothing and it is becoming more orderly because maybe it came from an earlier civilization. True, like that's also true and does not negate what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that information, this non-physical thing, like you can't pick up a handful of information and hold it. It's not physical. This non-physical thing called information seems to get more orderly over time through humanity. Through humanity. Is it some kind of cross-generational sharing that's causing it? Is it because we have the ability to exchange information through language and signaling? We can talk about why this might be happening, but nonetheless, the point is there does seem to be this transcendent, persistent thing, which we might call the technium, or we might call something else. But there seems to be this knowledge that becomes more organized and more orderly over time. And that, according to the author of this book, What Technology Wants, this tendency for knowledge and information to become more orderly over time. He calls that extropy. He's doing a play on words with entropy, but he says extropy is this tendency for the technium to become more and more realized over time through generations, through humanity. More organization, more order, more orderliness, knowledge, more accurate knowledge, more wisdom. It's just more and more and more and more and more happens over time. This technium, this extropy. And it seems to, in that way, function backward in time. So, this is something I don't hear a lot of people talking about, this idea. And even if someone has not read this specific book that I'm talking about, and they maybe don't use language that I'm using, like extropy and the technium, this like transcendent additional type of organism beyond things like fungus or animals or plants. We also have technology, which is a part of nature. And unlike animals and plants and fungus, which decay over time, the technium is a different part of nature. It's the part of nature that goes backward in time and becomes more organized. It has this extropy property. I don't hear people talking about that enough, even if they're using different words. I should have been checking out the chat this whole time, because there's cool stuff in the chat that I should have been including in this conversation. One really cool thing is that All True was talking about peanut butter and jelly, which is nice. I really like peanut butter. We're sitting there talking about the evolution of like organisms on Earth and alternate kingdoms beyond fungus and animals and such. And also I like peanut butter. I really do like peanut butter. Yesterday I just got oh man, I'm outing myself here. I'm outing myself with what I'm about to say. That I overdid it yesterday with some candy. I got a thing of Reese's peanut butter cups, like 2 normal peanut butter cups. But I also got, I think it was a caramel peanut butter cups with caramel in them. I've never seen that before. Or maybe I've seen it, but I've never tried it before. So I got both of those yesterday. I really overdid it, which I do sometimes. Sometimes I overdo it with eating. That's a discipline I have to work at like every day. Anyway, getting caught up on the chat here. Dane says, I don't believe time is linear. Yeah, I would agree. Time doesn't have a one-dimensional property. I would characterize time as null. It's null dimensional. It's not even 0-dimensional. Time is null dimensional. Time is simply the way that real things can experience change. Time doesn't have substance of its own. So I'd agree, yes, it's not linear. And it also wouldn't be unidirectional, like entropy that way, that's time. No, that's just for physical matter, things that are based on matter. But if we talk about other types of existence, things that are not based on physical matter, such as information, or even, beyond that, there's other things like ideals, like, what is poetry about? You can't pick up a handful of what poetry is about. There's something insubstantial about it. Those things are, I would agree with Dane, those things are not ruled by time in the way that matter is. Those are different, totally different dimensional properties. Dane says, we are immortal, truth be told. That is my experience of it. That the idea of reincarnation, that we are just, you and I and everybody, all of humanity, is just being recycled over and over and over and over. And to tie it back to this technium conversation that we were talking about, we have to at some point entertain the idea of like exactly what is being reincarnated over and over. It's like, it's us. Okay, great. Well, what's us? What exactly is being reincarnated over and over? And it seems to be a way for conscious awareness to evolve through a sense of self, like to move from no sense of self through having a sense of self and evolve through like, I know what's best for myself. I need to protect myself with these boundaries. That's me and that's not me. And evolve through all of that back into a sense of unity while retaining a sense of self. That seems to be what is being reincarnated. This like awareness of self that can also remain unified, which is also what I was talking about earlier. Can we evolve to the point that it's like baked into humanity that we can trust each other and have it be true? That is to say, not have it be this false like a utopian idealism that's trying to hastily manufacture infinite trust, but it's not really ready for it yet. I mean, like really, actually, we can trust each other. That's what I'm looking forward to in some future. I don't know how many incarnations, how many generations it'll take before we get there. But anyway, yeah, immortal. Our awareness, our sense of self, that seems to be the thing that's immortal. Because it's certainly not our physical bodies. Physical bodies, not immortal. Those physical bodies, those are the things that are subject to entropy. They fall and break and die. But what does not fall and break and die is your eternal, I will dare to use the word soul, even though we might bicker over what word we use for this. Your eternal soul, the thing that exists and has some kind of coherent existence and becomes aware of itself over and over and over while it learns how to continue to cooperate and stop having such an ego. That thing is immortal. And when you yourself, when you feel the very familiar experience of death, which will feel very familiar, by the way, when you yourself experience that and you're like, oh, right, dying, oh. And then you go through the whole cleansing process. And then you get ready. You get ready to get to that point of, hey, where's your soul? Where's your soul at? Is your soul ready? Is your soul ready to fly up and get out of this entropy stuff? Is your soul ready to fly up forever? If so, all right, cool. Otherwise, more incarnations. No, your soul's not ready yet? You're not ready to go with the flow totally, infinitely? And do all the infinite blending and stop having such an ego? You're not ready for that? Another incarnation. But your soul, this is the good news. Your soul is non-physical, which means it's not ruled by entropy. So you have the power, you have the potential to contribute to the extropy of your soul's progress toward getting to that point where you no longer need to incarnate. If that's the direction it's going to go. Going back to the peanut butter discussion, I see we have a discussion about peanut butter and honey. That is good. If you get you just get like a piece of toast that's still warm so that it melts the peanut butter a little bit, and then you put some honey on top of that, that is a snack, my friends. I'm a fan of natural peanut butters where you need to like mix them because the oil separates. I like raw peanut butter. I'm a fan of that. Al True says something similar about reincarnation. Al True says, reincarnation to me is a loop of adaptive learning. What not to learn and what to learn. Very similar. It's interesting how people who do have a sense of reincarnation, they have a sense of reincarnation being like the actual, like, hey, this isn't a belief system, this is what happens. People who have that sense, like I do, and Altru, it sounds like you might. People who talk about reincarnation do also tend to have a language talking about learning. That tends to be a common theme. And that once again goes along with the idea of extropy. That over the course of your incarnations, you gather more, you learn, you become more attuned with reality. You stop trying to be a little piece of reality and you blend with all of reality. That's like the ultimate thing to learn. Dane says about a piece of toast with peanut butter on it, like I was saying earlier. Piece of toast with peanut butter, so it's a little melty, and then you put honey on that. Dane says, "Hey man, that's a divine dish. That's not just a snack." Dude, I like peanut butter is for real. Like, it's. There are some people who think of peanut butter as being like, oh, you give a little kid a peanut butter sandwich, and that's as far as they take peanut butter in their culinary thinking, which is a lot of like historical American thinking. But using peanut butter in stuff, like making a stir fry with peanut butter, it's like, oh, it's so good. Stir fries were like the first cuisine that I learned how to cook. And I used to put peanut butter in all the time. Mad garlic. We were talking about garlic on a previous stream recently. The past couple days, we were talking about garlic. I love putting just mad garlic in a pan. You can put some onions in there, whatever vegetables you want. Mad peanut butter in there. That's food, you know? I like a big, healthy stir fry. Without necessarily being unhealthy with the frying, that is. Got a nice balance there with the base. Dane says that as soon as I could talk, I was telling my mom and dad that I used to live with dinosaurs. That's awesome. Did you really? I don't know that I had any kind of language like that, but I know that there are people who do that. And there's really interesting stories about reincarnation if you care to research it. There's interesting stories where people say things like, "Oh yeah, I used to be this, fighter pilot, and my plane crashed, but I lived, on this road, and my wife's name was whatever." And then, like, this is just a little kid, like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old kid saying this stuff. And then you could go, like, there are stories where you go check it out and it's all legit. Like, there actually was a fighter pilot who died, it was 10 years ago, and his wife was down the road in that exact address. There are stories like that. I find that kind of stuff so compelling. And that strikes me as something that some humans may have some kind of biological capacity to do that maybe others haven't evolved that kind of capacity yet. This remembering of what is beyond the physical, all of this stuff, the technium or whatever we're going to call it. Dane says, I also do peanut butter in my stir fry. That's the move, man. And then you got to talk about what spices you put in it. I often, if I'm doing a stir fry, there's any number of things I might make a blend of, like paprika or some kind of, I like red pepper flakes. That goes across cuisines, stir fry or otherwise. Any kind of pepper I like, cayenne I put in, black pepper. I'd have to look at my spice rack. I do have some. But a spicy peanut sauce, I'm down with that. All True says, peanut butter is the end-all, be-all. It really is. It truly is. The only thing that's doper about something like honey is that honey does not ever go bad. Supposedly. Honey is just permanently honey. And you can open up like honey jars from ancient Egypt and it's still perfectly, it might be dry, but it's perfectly edible honey. And I think that's the only food that's true for. And I don't know if that's what used to be called ambrosia for that reason, or or not. And I'm just wondering. I'm not saying I've heard that or anything. All True says, in addition to peanut butter being the end-all, be-all, I can't date you if your love of peanut butter is equivalent to the love of a noodle. If it is equivalent, so you think that one must love peanut butter more than they love a noodle. That's the standard that you're setting. I would also have that standard. I'm not a fan of noodles in general. I'm not much of a noodles person. It just occurs to me, I've been talking for like 30 or 40 minutes without playing the synth. But we've had a lot of good talking has come out of this. This is the kind of stuff that I want these Tinkering with Studio streams to be about. These like really potentially profound, interesting topics that aren't talked about often in at least, first world Western culture. These aren't common topics really. The technium, who's talking about that? Information that tends to organize itself over time. It goes backward in time and becomes more organized, not less organized. Who's talking about that stuff? Dane says, I love tiki masala with red pepper. Tiki masala with red pepper is my ranch and I don't salt. Yeah, I go light on salt. There are some times I will agree with you and it's just like no salt is going on this. Other times I do put salt. When I do put salt, sometimes I use what is it called? Himalayan pink salt or whatever. I think that's what it's called, pink Himalayan salt. And you have to like grind it. That's fun. It's always fun to do the grinding. But that stuff doesn't have, what is it? Iodine, is that right? I'm not much of a chemist. So you gotta have regular salt too. You can't just have the Himalayan pink salt. But I too don't have a lot of salt. Sometimes I do want salt. Like if I'm having one of those big soft pretzels, it's like, yo, let me have some salt on that, please. Those like big, I don't know what you call them, big like cubes of salt that you can like almost bite. I'm having one of those big pretzels. Let me get one of those big soft pretzels with like sauces that are like a cheese sauce and a mustard sauce and like whatever, that kind of thing. That's like, yeah, I want salt on that, usually. All True says that we got to try this Black Cameroon, if I'm pronouncing it right. black Cameroon pepper. She says black Cameroon pepper is really hot, just ridiculous heat. Just half a teaspoon in soup ruined the whole pot. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I have also ruined an entire pot of stuff in multiple ways, including putting too much salt. There's no unsalting something after you put too much salt in it, which is unfortunate. I wish there were anti-salt that you could do that with. Dane says, there's a question, a short video of mine, fight every day. Is that your family? Which short video are you talking about? I do, in my lyrics, I do often talk about fighting and having that be with the people who are closest to me, which could apply to any family situation. But I would also mean it more generally. In my life, one of my themes is having just ongoing broken record conflicts and boundary violations with the people closest to me. That's a common theme. So that's often part of my lyrics. All True is agreeing about peanut butter being better than noodles. And now the question is, what about peanut noodles? What about like some kind of Thai peanut noodle thing? I still am not much of a noodle person. I don't like a noodle dish, but once in a while I'll have some kind of noodle something or other. It is possible to have a good noodle dish in my mind. It's just not, there's not many options for that. Although I do, admittedly, I like ramen. I like just like plain ramen. Just give me one of those things that you get for $1 at the grocery store. And, you know, the chili powder it comes with, that's like a comfort food. That's not exactly a guilty pleasure because it's not bad for you, but it is high sodium and it's not really nutritious. But I like it. I like ramen. Oh, have you ever made, now that I'm talking about ramen, have you ever made peanut sauce for ramen? I've done that. I've used ramen in my stir fry and put just like stupid garlic in there and peanut butter in there and use ramen for the noodles. I've done that. That works out really well. Broccoli works really well in that dish. Really any vegetables you want to throw in there, but broccoli seems to, I don't know, fit nicely with the ramen. Maybe it's getting caught in the noodles and such. We should trade recipes. We should like expand out Tinkering in the Studio streams so that we talk about profound things like reincarnation and how humanity is a vehicle for this extra bee-based technology, and also sharing recipes about peanut butter and other things like that too. Oh man, there's so much happening in the chat related to foods and things. I'm not gonna be able to catch up with all of it. All True is agreeing about the pink Himalayan salt. Dane likes coriander, garam masala. I have some garam masala downstairs. Yeah, I do have some of that. Oh, Dane, you're clarifying the video you're talking about. Dane is talking about a video that I made actually just over 2 years ago. Yeah, that was an improvised looping session. And I'm talking about how every day is a fight. It's actually what is it? I think if you're not a subscriber, it's the opening video on my page. But if not, it's just called Every Day is a Fight, and you can look it up in Just search in my videos, Every Day is a Fight. And it's, it's an improv looping session. It's one of my favorite, actually. So actually, Dane, I'm glad that you noticed that one and you're asking about it. I'd love to talk about that one forever. But toward the end of it, for the final minute or so of that video, I do some improvised lyrics. And in the lyrics, I'm talking about how every day is a fight. Why is it a fight every day? I can't understand it. Why does everybody fight me all the time? And things like that. That's what the lyrics are about. So the question is that about my family? The answer is no. No, that was inspired specifically by a specific straw that broke the camel's back type of event. But as I say, it is more generally just about how the people closest to me violate my boundaries kind of heartlessly, despite my protests. This specific event was about a neighbor, dare I say a bad neighbor, who had moved in and has an extraordinarily loud dog. Extraordinarily loud. Like, louder than you're imagining right now. Very, very loud. And we share a wall. And their dog would bark for very, very long periods of time. There were instances where it would be barking and howling for hours. Fortunately, though, that wasn't every single day. But every single day was multiple times through the day, it would be barking for 5, 10, 20 minutes. And I have sound processing issues. I have issues with disturbing noises. I can't block things out. I can't ignore things. So everything disturbs me all the time. And specifically with dogs, I have, if you're familiar with the term misophonia, it's sometimes somebody eats loudly, it can oh, that's so annoying, stop it. I get that with eating loudly, with other things, and including with loud dog barking. And this particular dog got to the point of traumatizing me. And in strictly a Pavlovian learning kind of way, it associated its loud, harassing barking with just my daily life. So that song, Dane, that you're bringing up, that song was happening I think that day the dog was barking and howling, and I just kind of lost it, and I did that as my improv session, just talking about oh, I don't get it. Why does nobody respect my wishes? Why do these neighbors have to have this extraordinarily loud dog? They're not even supposed to. There's supposed to be a legal clause that says you can have a dog, but it can't be a disturbance. And they just were, over a year and a half, nothing but just frequent disturbances. And that song, Every Day is a Fight, that I made, is just about my ongoing mounting frustration with being in that position where I have to constantly put up with more than I can, honestly. And it's just because other people seem to be disrespectful of what looks to me like common courtesy, in this case, not having an extraordinarily loud dog. But even if it's not common courtesy, then there's a legally binding document saying they can't do it. And yet they still could. It wasn't being enforced, all of this. So it was really very frustrating and even painful experience. I experienced literal physical pains in my chest, anxiety, and other things. It's not a panic attack, but I would use the word panic informally to describe what I experienced. There's still a lot of chats going by that I have to get caught up on with food and stuff. Baklava? Oh man, are we bringing baklava into the conversation? Baklava has entered the chat. I am very, very down with baklava. I like Mediterranean cuisine in general. I would say that's one of my top cuisines. If you can give me a good place where I'm going to get some good hummus, some good baba ganoush, some good pita, you give me a place like that, I'll be very happy to go there often. That's the kind of food I could eat every day. I just eat that forever, every day, forever. I like a fattoush salad. Is that how you pronounce it, I think? Or a fattoush, I think. That's like the classic salad in my mind. With olives, no pits. Get some pitted olives, please. Nick says, ice cream, honey butter kissed pancakes. Wow. That sounds luxurious. True says, I have got honey butter, and I use it like champagne. Do I still have that? I once had honey butter, like spreadable honey. I got a container of that once. I think I actually might still have it. Friends, I'm looking at the clock. I see we're at 2.5 hours. Whoa. Whoa. Now that just goes to show, my friends, that time flies when you're having fun. I'm having such a good time with you. In fact, I'm having such a good time that I feel the need to celebrate. I'm grabbing my drink. I'm grabbing my drink right now. And I am going to cheers in celebration of you. I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to clink the screen. You're invited to join the rest of us as we cheers along and celebrate our togetherfulness. Whether you're here in the chat, you're here live and you're in the chat, grab your drink. If you're here in the live but you're not in the chat, grab your drink. If you're joining us after the stream on replay, grab your drink, because it's going to all start, my friends, on 1. Yes, that's very good. The onefulness has begun on this, and then it continues on to 2. Yes, we're going to cheers and celebrate very soon, my friends, when we get all the way on 3. Clink. Cheers, my friends. Oh, man, that's good. That's really good. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please share this video with a friend who would like it. You know, the more you think about these live streams, these reconsiderate live streams that you adore so much, the more you think about it, the more you realize this is exactly the kind of thing that you want to share. This is exactly the sort of thing that you want others to share in. You want to share the joy that you experience, and I encourage you to do so. I hope to see you in the next live stream. My regulars know that we do these loops and chill. Whoops, not loops and chill. That's not right now. Right now we're doing a tinkering in the studio. We do these tinkering in the studio streams in an unscheduled manner. We do them sporadically. Could be any time of day, any day of the week. If you've got notifications enabled, you'll be able to join us for another hour, another 2 hours next time we do some tinkering in the studio content. And my regulars know that we got another kind of live stream as well. We've also got Loops and Chill, where we get together for an hour for just one beat after another. That one's not as much talking. That one's just beat, 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 one beat after another. Join us on Wednesday and Saturday for Loops and Chill. And until then, my friends, whenever it is that I do see you again, until then, please have a very good rest of your day today. Please have a very exciting and uplifting rest of your day today. Please let the rest of your day today inspire you and give you reasons to go on, reasons to try your best. Please let the rest of your day today afford you all sorts of confidence. Please let your confidence grow to the point that you are ready to lead us in the ways that only you can, sharing only what you can share, doing only what you can do. And until then, my friends, please have a very good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next Reconsider It live stream.